Welcome to the 10th video on Keycloak Identity and Access Management System. In this video, I am talking about the tokens used in Keycloak. Tokens are not specific to Keycloak and they are used in OpenID Connect and Open Authorization protocols. First, I will explain the tokens and their types. After that, I will show you how they are used in a Keycloak client. For demonstration, I will use the same application developed in the previous video. Let's get into the content. There are three types of tokens as ID tokens, access tokens and refresh tokens. I will go through each of them one by one. First, I will explain what is an ID token. ID token is a type of token used to identify a user or entity. ID token might contain details like username, email, contact number and so on. This is called a self-contained token because the token itself contains user information. Normally, JSON Web Tokens are used as ID tokens to transfer user information. Every token has an expiry time. When it comes to ID tokens, it is shorter than a refresh token. Perhaps it might be few minutes or few hours. Having longer lifespan is not recommended for ID tokens because if it would be stolen, another party should not be able to use it for a longer period of time. Next type is access token. This is used to access another system. That means for authorization purpose. Access token can be a self-contained token like an ID token or it can be an opaque token. Opaque token means it is just a random character string with no meaning. If an opaque token is used, third-party system should execute some additional operations to get information referenced by the access token. If it is a self-contained token, the token itself contains information to get access decisions. Access tokens also have a shorter lifespan just like ID tokens. The last type is refresh token. An access or ID token is generated after the successful authentication of a user or system. Once access or ID token is expired, again trying to get the user to authenticate makes security risks and bad user experience. Because of this, refresh tokens are used to renew an expired ID or access token. Refresh tokens have a higher lifespan than access or ID tokens. Now you know the types of tokens used in OpenID Connect and Open Authorization protocols. It is time to extract and read these tokens generated by Keycloak on behalf of a user. For this, I am going to use the same application I built in the last video. Now I am going to that application. Now I am in the simple controller class of my application. If you want to know more about this Spring Boot application, please check my previous video about securing a web application with Keycloak. Here I have done two changes to my private endpoint. You can see here I have added HTTP servlet request as a parameter to this method. In addition to that, I have taken the user principal from the HTTP servlet request object and assigned it to a variable of type Keycloak principal. These are the only new changes I have done to my Spring Boot application. Now I am going to start the application in debug mode and going to inspect the Keycloak principal Java object. Application successfully started. First, I am going to access this private endpoint using my browser. Currently, my Keycloak server is also running. I provide the URL of private endpoint here. It is localhost 8081 API private. As usual, it redirected me to the Keycloak login page. I give the same credentials of the Hexa user we talked in the last video. I click the login button. I am switching to my editor again. You can see here debugger has stopped at the breakpoint. Now I can evaluate Keycloak principal using the evaluator feature provided by IntelliJ IDEA. First I copy the name. Just enter. Here you can see there are three tokens available as refresh token, token and ID token. These are base 64 encoded JWT tokens. Now I am going to decode these 3 token strings. First I copy the ID token. For decoding purpose, I visit the jwt.io website, which is provided by OAuth0. I paste the copied string token here. You can see it was decoded in real time. Also, this website explains the meaning of each standard attribute, so it is very easy to inspect a token through this website. A JWT token has 3 parts as header, payload and signature. In this video, I am interested in payload section only. Therefore, I copy the payload and paste it for comparison against other tokens. Like this, I decode both access token and refresh token as well. These are the payloads of each token once decoded: ID token, access token and refresh token. Now I will show you the major attributes of these tokens. Each JWT token has an expiration time as EXP and the time it was issued as IAT. Subject is the entity to whom this token refers to. We used Hexa user's credentials to log in. Therefore, the subject is the user ID of the Hexa user. You can see it in all the 3 tokens. Issuer is the entity which created and signed this JWT. Hexa Defense Realm is the issuer of these 3 tokens. You can see token type is given in each token. ID tokens type is ID. Access tokens type is bearer. Normally access tokens are called as bearer tokens as well. Refresh tokens type is refresh. Authorized party is the party to which this token was issued. In all the 3 tokens, authorized party is OADC client. OADC client is the client application we used to get these tokens. So again, I am kindly requesting, if you did not watch my previous video, please watch that. Let's talk about the audience property. Audience is the entity a particular token is intended for. Simply, audience is the application which takes decisions based on the token. In the ID token, you can see the audience is the OADC client itself. Because this token is used only to identify the user and this is not used to access other systems. When it comes to the access token, audience is an array containing 3 entities. Those entities are also clients created in the Hexa Defense realm. Hexa user has roles of this each client. Therefore, this access token can be used to access those client applications as well. In refresh token, audience is again the Hexa Defense realm because this refresh token is used to refresh ID and access tokens from the Hexa Defense realm. Also here you can see all the user roles are included in the access token and other 2 tokens does not contain user roles. Mainly the difference between access token and ID token is ID tokens used to identify a user or entity and access token is used to access a third-party application. So this is what I wanted to explain in this video, but I know now you might be having lots of questions like how to add more attributes to these tokens or how to remove unnecessary attributes from these tokens, and still I have not talked about the scope attributes as well. But don't worry, I'm going to talk about these things in near future. Stay tuned for the next video. Thank you very much.